The Bible is filled with examples of those who trusted God so completely that they were rewarded in unusual ways for their faith. Enoch was one of them. Good morning, I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Wednesday. We are looking at Hebrews chapter 11 and the examples in this hall of fame of faith to see what are the characteristics of their faith and what was their great reward. The Old Testament character named Enoch is mentioned in verse 5 with this explanation. By faith, Enoch was taken away so that he did not see death and was not found because God took him. For before he was taken, he had this testimony that he pleased God. Enoch is listed in Genesis chapter 5 in the descendants of Adam, and he lived his life for God. Enoch was the father of Methuselah, and the Bible says he walked with God for 365 years. Then in Genesis 5 and verse 24, it says, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Hebrews 11 tells us that he was taken away so that he did not see death. There are only two men in the Bible listed with that kind of distinction. They did not have to face death before leaving this earth. Enoch was one of them. The other one was Elijah, the Old Testament prophet. The Bible says he was taken to heaven in a chariot of fire, in a whirlwind, there while Elisha stood on the ground and watched him. Hebrews 11 also records that he was not found, meaning that when God whisked him away, a search party was put together and gathered to see if they could find him somewhere. The same thing happened, by the way, in Elijah's case. The young men preachers that had worked with him were concerned, and they said, let's get together 50 strong men so that we can search the area. Perhaps God has dropped him on some mountain in this area. But this was a result of Enoch's faith and his relationship with God. The Bible says he walked with God. I used to hear some old preachers tell that perhaps one day whenever God and Enoch were walking along, God turned to him and said, you know, we're closer to my house than we are to yours. Why not just go home with me? Well, we don't really know how it happened, but it was the result of his faith in God and the way this caused him to live his life, totally dedicated to the Lord and to his will. Hebrews also says, for before he was taken, he had this testimony that he pleased God. This should always be the testimony of those who walk by faith and not by sight, that they seek in every way to please the Lord, whether it be with their actions or their thoughts. I think it's also noteworthy, by the way, that Enoch had Methuselah as his son. You know, the Bible says if we honor father and mother, our days will be long on the earth. Well, apparently Enoch lived such a life that Methuselah honored him and his faith. And because of that, he lived some 969 years. Is our faith that strong today? That it affects our walk with God. And one day we'll be rewarded in such a tremendous way because we followed the Lord completely.